Hello and welcome, this is GameRules.com. My name is Mark, and today I've got 10 custom wild rules for you to try in your next game of Uno. Even Mattel has gotten into the custom rules game with versions of Uno like house rules and the inclusion of blank wild cards. Now you can write on those with pencil any rules you want to apply to that wild card. And if you want to change it up, the pencil is easily erased and you can add a new rule. So I've got 10 rules for you today. 9 of them are mean, 1 of them is nice. Let's dive in and get started. Our first custom wild rule I have for you today is from the Fast and the Furious version of Uno. It is the street race wild card. As soon as that card is played, we have ourselves a game of slapjack. Everybody needs to quickly slap their hand onto the discard pile, and the last player to do so must draw 4. One thing to keep in mind with all of these wild card rules is that they're still wild, so whoever played them gets to choose the color that must be played next. Number 2 on this list comes from the Kung Fu Panda version of Uno, and it is the Kickin' Battle wild card. As soon as this card is played, that person chooses an opponent, and they begin a game of war, each player picking one card from their hand and playing it face up to the table. Whoever plays the highest number card wins the battle. All action cards are worth 0, and whoever loses the battle must draw the difference in the number of their cards. So if I play a 7 and my opponent plays a 3, I win the war, and they must draw 4 cards. If it's a tie, you play again, choosing a card from your hand and playing it face up to the table. If a player runs out of cards during this battle, they draw from the stock to continue the battle. Number 3 on this list comes from the Rayman DLC for the online version of the game, and it is the Dragon wild card. As soon as this card is played, that person collects everybody's hands, shuffles them together, and then re-deals them out, starting with the player on their left. This is a great way to level the playing field once again. Number 4 on this list comes from the Uno mobile app. And for this, you're going to need a few poker chips, or some sort of token that can be stacked on top of the draw pile. This is the wild trick card, and as soon as it is played to the discard pile, you must put a chip on top of the draw pile. Whoever has to draw next is penalized with an extra 3 cards. Of course, if nobody draws and another wild trick card is played, then another chip is placed on the draw pile, and whoever has to draw next will then draw 6 additional cards. As you can see, this is a devastating penalty that can be stacked for even more pain. Number 4 comes from Hello Kitty and Friends Uno, and it is the batsu wild card. As soon as this card is played, whoever has the fewest cards in their hand must draw 4. If there's a tie for fewest cards, all the players in the tie must draw 4. So play this one carefully. If you end up being the player with the fewest cards, you of course will have to draw. Number 6 on this list is the Justice wild card from the Batman Begins version of the game. Once this card is played, that person will distribute all of their cards but 1 from their hand, dealing them out evenly beginning with the player on their left, giving all of their opponents a card until they only have 1 remaining. Number 7 is the Sorcerer's Apprentice card from the Disney version of Uno, and this creates a draw wave. Once the Sorcerer's Apprentice is played, the person sitting to the player's left must draw 1 card. Then continuing around the table, the next person must draw 2, then 3, then 4, and so on. Now, the more people that are playing this game, the more devastating this card is going to be to those who are sitting at the end of the rotation. Number 8 comes from Shrek. It is the Merlin wild card, and when this card is played, that person picks a color. Then, going around the table, each opponent must draw until they get a card of that color. This thing might end up being a draw 1 for some players, or it could be much more devastating for those who have some bad luck. Number 9 is from the 2002 version of the Disney Princess Uno, and it is the Maleficent Dragon wild card. Once this card is played, all opponents must either discard a 0 or a 5, And if they can't, they have to draw until they can. So you're either lucky and you have one of those cards in your hand right off the bat, or you're going to be drawing cards until you get a 0 or a 5 to play. One thing to keep in mind is that there are fewer zeros in the game than any other number. So you could be potentially ruining somebody's day with a mighty big draw. Finally, after all that meanness, we've got number 10, which is actually a nice rule, and it is the friendship rule from Mickey Mouse and Friends Uno. Once the friendship wild is played, everybody gets to discard one card of their choice. It's a nice rule that could, if not played carefully, end the game if somebody has a single card remaining. Alright, well those are 10 custom wild rules for your next Uno game. I hope you enjoyed this list. Again, if it's your first time visiting us here, be sure to subscribe so you're notified about new uploads. And if you would like to check out a large, growing library of game rules and writing, head over to gamerules.com. Until next time, keep on playing.